Hi everyone, I'm Emma Hooper and I support work experience and placements at City College Plymouth. We're here today to celebrate International Women's Day on the 8th of March. This is a global event which celebrates women's achievements and raises awareness of women's equality. So to celebrate this day, I'm joined by Brandie Deignan, who recently joined primary care in the NHS in general practice as Chief Executive Officer. Before this, Brandie was Managing Director at Marco Pierre White Restaurants chain. So thank you so much, Brandie, for meeting with me today and speaking with me. Could you, kind of to kickstart us off, could you perhaps tell us a little bit more about your current role and what career experiences have led you to this position?
Well, Emma, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure being with you guys. So I joined primary care within the NHS as CEO at Pier Health Group earlier on this year. So primary care services actually provide the first point of contact in the healthcare system, and it acts as a front door to the NHS. Primary care includes general practice, community pharmacy, dental and eye care. So my responsibility within primary care is specifically general practice, and it is to ensure that we're delivering first-class healthcare provided within aspects of the community, and that's what I do. You asked what experiences I've had that's kind of led to this particular role. Well, I actually started my career in the consumer service delivery industry, and I worked in retail, hospitality and aviation, and predominantly stayed in that kind of industry, really, the consumer service delivery industry, for about 20 years up until earlier this year when I moved into healthcare. I went straight into hospitality from university and started as a graduate trainee and kind of worked my way up. I held quite a lot of leadership roles, first in single site management, and then I moved on to multiple site management where I had more than one business to look after, and it kind of grew from 1 to 10 to 15 to 30 and so on. And then I moved from multi-site into regional leadership and then national leadership, where within retail and aviation, where at a point I had sort of the whole of the UK and Ireland. And most recently, as you said in your intro, I was managing director within hospitality at Marco Pierre White Restaurants.
Brilliant. You've had so many different experiences and insights into a varied kind of wealth of different kinds of areas of business, which is fantastic. What's your experience been kind of as a woman in this industry within the business sector?
What has my experiences been within the business industry? It has been tough at times. Okay, it's been tough more often than not. So we all know the societal barriers and biases that we have, you know. And as an example, we know there's no country in the world which is set to achieve gender equity by 2030. This is huge stuff, right? So that's kind of all been bubbling along. For myself, the experiences has been in, I think, cohorts of decades actually. So in my 20s, Emma, I was a bit in the mushroom club. I was totally unaware of the extent of the experiences of women in the business industry that I was about to face. And there was quite a lot of casual cruelties looking back, you know, as I went through my journey. You know, for instance, there was roles that nobody really wanted, and I had to take it to climb the ladder, that kind of stuff. And then I hit my 30s, and reality actually hit home because I'd hit mid-career. That's when I started having children. I started wanting more flexibility because of childcare challenges and so on and so forth. So I hit some significant barriers then. And frankly, I was this close to actually jacking it all in, you know, the whole career thing. But that mid-career phenomenon is nothing new. It's a huge phenomenon around, because recently Forbes went through a research that identified that 30% of attrition happens within mid-career, 30%. So if you can think about it in a simple term, if 30% of women are leaving their careers at mid-career, that's just a huge gap that we're leaving. But of course, in my 40s now, and I'm giving a lot away, but in my 40s, the barriers are still there, Emma. They haven't gone. They're just a bit more subtle now, and they're a bit more covert rather than overt. And because of the years of going through this, I've learned, and so I kind of work around them, and don't let them distract me. But of course, it boils down to the lack of female role models that we have. You know, business need more women at the decision-making table. Organizations need more women at the top. We need more women, especially the next generation, to feed through in leadership. Because we know that once we have a seat at the table, the kaleidoscope changes, and it becomes a little bit easier. So we need to just change the dynamics. You know, we know in the UK, for instance, in the FTSE 100 companies, there's only 5% of CEOs who are women. And in the FTSE 250, only 2% are women. And FTSE 350, only 5% are women. But we also know that half the population are women, right? So there's a missing link there, and we just need to help bridge that gap.
That's a really interesting statistic. 5% CEOs women, you know, that really hits it home, doesn't it? So it's interesting to hear, you know, your how your experiences have been, and also you talking about that mid-career kind of that gap that is there, you know, that a lot of women are experiencing. What's the most important piece of advice then you'd give to women thinking of starting a career in business now, you know, our female students now thinking about their next steps within their career progression? What's the best piece of advice that you could give to them?
Well, I've got two simple things really. The first one is be who you want to be. You know, if you have a dream right now, make that dream a goal, make it your goal. And if you have that goal made, then make it happen. You will and you can. So it's important that you actually understand the power that you have to actually change anything and everything happening around you. So be who you want to be and go for it. And then my second advice I'd like to give any young woman thinking about their career right now is if you think you can, you probably can. You know, I know it's a cliche, but you know, I've broken so many walls and glass ceilings. So, you know, if you can use me as an example, it is doable. Make sure that you have big bets in your career, because you really can, and then live every single moment of your life making it happen.
I think that's an interesting point about it's having the confidence, isn't it, to believe in yourself. And I think a lot of barriers people experience is actually, you know, not realizing their own strengths and their own capabilities. So that's really interesting that you say that. I'm sure that will resonate a lot, you know, with a lot of our students. I guess thinking of International Women's Day, and you know, depending on whatever career, you know, that our students want to go into, what do you think is the most important message to take away from celebrating this day and this event? Like, what does it mean to you?
So the fact that this day exists is telling, isn't it, Emma? It just, the fact that it's there means that we really got to throw ourselves into it. But for me, what it means is this day allows me to look around me, look around the women around me and the amazing things they've actually achieved to date, and the men around us who help us get there. So I look at people like my mother, like my grandmother, my female friends, my aunties, my female cousins, my sisters-in-law, my female colleagues, all women around me. And there are some really strong women out there who are making things happen. I look at the next generation and the young girls that are coming up. And we've got so much to be excited about. We've moved such a long way from the later days of the suffragettes to where we are now. So let's enjoy it, let's grab it, let's make things happen, and let's believe that we can. Because for me, I think that we really can. It's just a matter of wanting to.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much, Brandie, for sharing your insights and, you know, helping to celebrate International Women's Day as well. So for more information for everyone watching about the event, you can head to internationalwomensday.com, and we've also got lots of really interesting and useful sessions and bits and pieces of information on our student journey site, and also look out on our social media channels as well. But thank you so much, Brandie.
Thank you, Emma, for having me.